Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave Daily Update for the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500 for Thursday, August 29th, 2024. The topping price process continues, but it continues to get really interesting. And I have to say that I'm now looking and putting this puzzle together as it pertains to the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ along with the Russell. So the major indexes, and then all of the components and everything else put together. I am beginning to kind of piece it all together, as I just said. And today, I'm going to start with the NASDAQ and the S&P, and then I'm tacking on at the very end. I've updated the Dow Jones cash, and primarily because the Dow Jones cash went to a new all-time high today. And so did the futures market. Precursor to finally kicking over and getting the NASDAQ to go, the Russell and the S&P, very, very possible. So I'm going to include that at the end of today's update. So hang out. All right, starting with the NASDAQ, I'm starting on the daily chart today, just because I want to show what it all looks like here. And we still have quite a bit of traveling to do in terms of real estate to cover in terms of getting above this high, which is 20,084, 20,984, I should say. And we're still presently fooling around about 19,400, 500. Now, today was interesting in that we seem to go down and complete the fourth wave, and then just launch off of that. So I want to go down to the 4-hour chart now. Let's kind of open this up, and we're going to take a look at what we got today versus what we're working on. And so this morning, actually yesterday afternoon, the market hit a low at 19,140. And the way I'd left it was that we still had the possibility it could come down, and if it did and it broke here and then broke 19,000, more than likely what the count would be is that this would still be in progress. That's the minor 4. So it would have had minute A, minute B, and we're coming down on minor 4. Gotta tell you the truth, that actually still is out there. As far as the NASDAQ is concerned, it is still out there. Now, what supports the idea that the NASDAQ will finally catch up and catch fire, and we know when that can happen, they'll just take it, they'll just go. And we'll see things change. Now, tomorrow this thing's on the fence, because before the market, we get PCE. And similar to NVIDIA, I am expecting a fairly good jolt from it because a lot of energy is being put behind it as to what the Fed will do within 2 weeks. So, or just over 2 weeks. So with all of that in mind, tomorrow that number could be like, whoop, we like it. No, we don't. Yes, we do. So we might just bounce really strongly before the opening. And then if direction is clear and going and having follow through. So in other words, if the number is totally acceptable to the market and indicates stronger evidence that the Fed will at least produce some form of a cut on their next meeting in September. So that is what's going to be putting into that PCE number, good or bad. Now, if they don't like it, and it is showing that the Fed is going to maybe take another stance of like, hey, we're going to hold off 1 more month, we're going to hold off maybe 2 more months, I think the market could take a nosedive, and guess what? Then it's definitely going to be that minor 4. You're not done yet, and this is A, and that's B, and we're coming off in that C wave, and that's where I would expect it to go. And it could get there or part of the way very, very quickly. And it's right into this type of what could happen. And you can't see my hand, but it's like waterfall. And suddenly you just walk in and it's kablooey and they start taking it down. All things are possible. Now, here's how I'm looking at it. Looking at the 4-hour chart, I got an ABC coming down. I'm going to put it right there. And there's the A and that's the B. And then it's a very, very not easy, but it's there. And lots of ugly in between. But it is pretty clean, actually. That's the 4-hour chart. And how I'm counting this is impulsive. And I'll show you that in a minute. Impulsive. So if I have this as a 4, then this is 1 of 5, 2 of 5. Other side would have to be that it is kind of forming a type of diagonal to form wave 1. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. But it's got a diagonal. It doesn't really, but the concept is there. Anyway, hourly. The hourly chart, a little bit clearer, the 4, and I'm fairly happy with that. And it fits in terms of this picture, that is, and this is going to be a minor 5th wave high. And we'll get to the Dow, because that one's showing that it made new all-time highs today. That could be minor wave 5, or it's still in minor 5. So we are still in minor 5. Therefore, that part fits. The falling off the cliff and finishing minor 4 still could fit both. How? That the B wave of minor 4 in all of them is irregular, except this NASDAQ. Okay, now if I leave it here, and this is 3, 4, 1, 2, here are our numbers. So we got one more I'm going to put in, and that's going to be just for this very small section. That's if that low holds. And now we're looking at the 3rd. So let me go in and do a little editing. And that one, no. That one's not going to work. I'll take 1, 6, and we'll do those. And it's got to be this color. So they're minuet. These are minuet. So it would not be unusual to see it actually even get it up here, where it's moving. It's getting up closer to that new high on a 3rd. Now that would be quite the jump. But we've seen it down 3,000. We've seen it, so not 3,000. We've seen it down 1,000. Excuse me, long day. So it could go up. I'm not saying 1,000, but I think we've seen up 700. We've seen up size, and that could get us starting to clear here. So the PCE could produce a strong rally. It also could produce an absolute fall off the cliff puke. Let's bring it down. I want to look at the 15-minute chart now. Now I'm just basically looking at these structures. And I did kind of go over it pretty clean, I think, in terms of, come on, right there, thank you. I did go over it. And this is definitely, I can get 5. And all the way up to here. A nice extended 3rd, and then a 4 and a 5. And then A, B did not take out the high. A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C. So I have 1, A, B, C, 2. So I'm expecting in the next 50 minutes when this opens that it continues to go higher. I've got the 3. Otherwise, that's a 4. If we come down again, then it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in order for this to work to the upside, it really can't come down in 5. I mean, it could technically and be A of 2, B of 2, C of 2, not necessarily. So this cannot break that and be called a wave 2. Let's say that. Below here, then it's going to flip back over to the other ones. Okay, now you're dropping in that C wave. What then that becomes to me very difficult because of how it is come off. Right? I have to go back to the hourly, and you got to sit here and go, okay, what is this then? Is it one? Is it two? Is it 1, 2, 3? Is it something strange? And that all has to be worked out. And you likely can start to go WXY, that type of a fourth wave. Okay. So just putting that out there. Now, I'm going to leave it at that case. I believe we kind of continue to head up. We've got a little bit of a cluster right here at 18,890. And yeah, PCE could take us there, provided at the same time NVIDIA does a turnaround, that they're done playing, do we go up above 120, 122, or are we going to drop back to 115? That was the wrestle today because we started down there, not at 115, but at 116 in that handle. And we drove it up to 122 into that handle. And then we brought it back down to 117, I saw, and now we're trading it at 118 in that handle. So, you know, bouncing itself around. SMCI bouncing itself around. Apple, pretty much early bounce, and then no, we're taking it higher, and it's pleased as punch to sit above $230. So you got that internal battle going on now, right? So a lot of stuff happening. Plus things, the window in terms of the flows tightened. They tightened it. And it's purely just by trades, you know, how things are trading right now. So that window has tightened. So the Q flipped above the volatility trigger, tipped below the volatility trigger, but things are compacted. So you got the volatility trigger, then you're running into higher gamma levels, both to the downside and the upside. So as they get there, what happens out of that? We're seeing more volatile trade. And so when risk off starts to get smacked a little bit, you're seeing that happen. And so those declines became pretty powerful because there was algo triggered selling to make adjustments to positions that were sitting there. So that happens, but then it recovers. And, you know, so we're getting a more volatile play in between, right? So coming back down, you can just follow it down and look on the 15-minute chart. We're getting much more play. That's a 45-minute move. Pretty straight, hard down, 45 minutes. So within an hour, it goes from 19,634 to 19,363. 270 points, bam, and then rallies back up, but still, that's after doing that overnight and then in the morning. So it did get hit, and it does throw the whole field into its own little place. But again, sticking to the flows added to the volatility increase. So you have to think, it's like, when we're dropping that quickly, where's that volatility flipping from? It's flipping from the call to the put real quick, producing trades, and then issuing, you know, hedging instructions to an algorithm. So again, the moves are fast. And it's easy to go down. But today, even in the trade room, there was a couple of points where I was down, you know, substantially, like maybe 800. And within 5 minutes to 10 minutes, you know, it's down and then back up an equal amount. So it's like, this is really interesting because, right, 800 down, 800 back up. And then if you're up like maybe 100 or 200, you've done an 800 plus and then 1,000 in the opposite direction because you had to make the 800 back, and then you're up 100 or 200, and that's what was going on with me today. So I'm grateful for the volatility because you didn't get stuck wondering, oh, how am I going to get out of this? It's like the market's not really moving enough for me to, or they're spending more time just kind of chopping themselves around. So the moves were good for trading. All right, back to the NASDAQ. What do I think we can do? I already told you. I think we can start to move higher, or if we break from here and we come back below 19,140, it may basically seal the deal in terms of we're dropping within a C wave versus rising within a fifth wave. So rising within a fifth wave, new highs eventually. Dropping in a C wave would eventually suggest we come back towards 17,350 before all is said and done. All right, over in the S&P, it kind of is the same deal. I'm going to pull it out here a little bit. Let's take a look at this 4-hour chart. And you can see here, this is with it marked still that this is the wave 4. And we're plotting along in a minor fifth wave up, which is going to have 5 waves of minute degree of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Done. So we're in that minute fifth wave. 4 nicely completed yesterday afternoon. We had that little bit of a sell-off. It did put in, by the way, the 4 that I kept talking about, but we were up here and I'm like, well, if it's going to do it, it's got to just do it. And it did. I believe on Tuesday I was talking about it, it's just got to go. And it did. And then we ended up, we put in that new low, and then we took off. So 4, 1 of 5, 2 of 5. Deep 2. Not breaking any rules. Moving averages, still as confused as we are. If you're thinking we're in a fifth, but guess what? And the way I think about this is that if we're in this minor fifth wave, it's finishing an intermediate third, and that's pretty, we're getting up there in degree. So they don't look as beautiful and clean as they would in the third, but they can. The structure still, like here, still looks good. Now, since I'm calling that and we got closer to that support level, I'm actually going to take this off. So it just leaves it all nice and clean. And this is what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're inside the 5. Now here as well, if it really starts to break down, it has to really come back below 55.60. And if it does, well, we're now going to have to be recounting, relabeling. It's going to tip the scale more towards this being minute A, minute B. We're coming down in a C wave, and we're going to end up back here in the minor 4 and then still go up. Now, I'm hoping that we don't. I'm hoping that we kind of turn because it came down on the 4-hour chart, hit that 400, bounced up off of it. Good thing. Let's come down to the hourly and take a look to see how I'm still feeling here. Same thing. Impulse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know they're small. I know they're small. And just go like that so we can kind of look at them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like it. So the hourly staying kind of clean. They're small, but still decent rally off of that low. Then we had nothing but just like get out of the way, and we just hit it for most of the day. While the Dow ran. Why? SMCI. They added it to the ye old S&P. It carries some weight. NVIDIA carries some weight in this puppy versus Apple, which carries some weight, plus all the rest of the stocks that were in the S&P that were not in the best of moods. And the 5,600 level came into play several times during the day. So every time you're like, okay, put it back on, no, take it off, put it back on, no, take it off. So the 5,600 whittled away and built up in gamma. And so that's what kind of keeps things controlled. It's like a point of control, so to speak. And that's what kind of started to form there. So if it breaks, what's your ticket? If it breaks higher, well, you buy it. If it breaks lower, you're going to have to sell it. So gamma that sits there, you're going to find out real quick what direction things are going to go. So on the way down, it made it look like it was like going to go, but then it would stop, which suggests A, there was a lot of things left there, or B, that strength. Now the volatility trigger was right in there too, with the ES, and also with the SPX, but a little bit different. And so with those two kicking in, and then when you start to push up, there was a couple of combo levels going in there too. Not as strong as we have, just a little bit higher and a little bit lower, but strong enough to kind of flip the market around, right? So, and it did. So I'm looking at this as corrective, and not anymore like it's a 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm counting it as an A, B, and this is all a C, and not pretty, but it does count as 5. So the C wave. And then we have this, which I'm looking at as impulse, and this being more corrective. So if I'm going to bring it down, take a look at it on the 15-minute chart and see what it looks like inside. See, more impulsive. Got a little crazy up in here, but very impulsive in nature, and we can count it all out. And then here, yes, I'm going to give that this really does appear to look like 5. It really does. And that's the fly in the ointment for me with the S&P. That it's not necessarily A, B, C. Could be, could definitely be. But this is 3. So the S&P may swing one more time. Come back down. As long as it doesn't break there, I will consider to continue to consider this being in 1, ABC 2. May have a little bit more to go. And then rally. Bringing it back out to that hourly chart, I believe. Oh, I did not. I want to put if this is 4, where minute 5 is going to come. And they're there. Now, I'm not filling any gaps yet. I may, but this is questionable. I need to see this before I go stick things on there in terms of, that's going to make me nuts. Hold on. It's, before I start to put this fib on, it's definitely a guesstimate. But this one does show me where the 5, if indeed it's 5, in progress. We have 5,700 to 5,800. That's our window. For the 5th wave, closer to 5,800. So I'm looking for 5. And I think that that's plenty of room to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or anywhere in between in this window. Then we got a minute 5, and then we're completing an intermediate wave 3 and setting the stage for an intermediate 4th wave correction. That'll go along with the Dow, by the way. And I'm going to get to that in 2 seconds. So pulling this back out, looking at it, I got that 3, 4, 1, 2, get it going, 3, 4, 5. That's kind of what I'm looking like. And I do think it can complete quickly. Now, whether it actually gets done before Labor Day, that leaves tomorrow, by the way, right? Because then we have a 3-day holiday weekend looking at us in the face. So there's an expiration tomorrow as well. Things are going to get pinned. So we may have to wait until after Labor Day and better hope that nothing geopolitically starts to upset the apple cart over the weekend. But we will see volatility get sold towards the end of tomorrow. We will see things get pegged for an expiration. Okay? So again, we'll see how the opening number is going to really affect the mood for the day. Do we pin high or do we pin low? We'll see. And there's our markers to the downside now. If it breaks this level, then you're going to have to put back up. You're going to go from there to there to there to get down here. But ultimately, I'd be looking for it to get back towards 5,100. All right. That is the S&P and the NASDAQ. If you're going to hang out, I'm going to show you the Dow. The Dow cash. I'm going to bring it all the way out to my 5-year. And here's the 5-year chart. So what I've done is I've updated because today it made a new all-time high. So we have, this is pandemic. Here is low interest rates. Finishing up top, a primary third. That October 2022 low was a primary fourth wave low. And then off of that, same as everybody else, we're working a primary fifth wave up. And I believe, like everywhere else, the Dow did go to new all-time high today, but we're getting ready to complete minor wave 5 and intermediate wave 3 will give us another larger decline back to 38, whatever this low was, 38,500-ish. Maybe a little lower, maybe a little higher. But where else can we go? Now, let me get it off of this weekly. Let me bring it down to the daily. And we can still see it gets a little squished. But there we have a little cluster, which both got met. And that was just above 4,100. So we closed well above. We closed 41.33. This is the cash. So that kind of keeps that there. I just wanted to show the power. It does, to me, appear, unlike the rest of the markets, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was that whole little correction that the other markets kept going on. This one at least got up to that new high. And that's a closing high, right? So coming back down, let's take it to the hourly chart. Same deal. Looks like it could be 1 to the 4. It's actually here. This is not the best, but I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5. So with that in mind, what else do we have? I go one more out here to the daily chart and come back down. We have still up here. Next up would be, and actually I forgot to change the color of this. It should be all in this orangey color because it is the minor 5, would be equal to the minor 1 at 42,750. So basically 42,750. If it kind of decides to go full bore, which it can, because remember, it's only 30 stocks, it's 45,375. And then here is, that is intermediate wave 3. It's kind of exceeded, closed above it. So therefore it has met that requirement over that fib level. It can stop here, it can stop here, and we could be the 5 and then put the 3 and then look for it to come down. But on a fib level and an intermediate degree, 2.618 is 46,965. So we've got numbers that could take us up that high within the context of this minor fifth wave. So that's it. That's all. That's the NASDAQ, the Dow, and the S&P. I presented, excuse me, the NASDAQ, yes, the S&P and the Dow. I brought the Dow simply because I'm expanding my analysis, and this is, I got to figure out how I'm going to do this, either through a membership, and I put it here on YouTube. So it would be there for people if they wanted to come in and get it. Or that I include it in something different where I'm sending it out each day via either my website or just to subscribers. All right, I'm ending it right there. The tomorrow PCE. Let me just double check to make sure that there is nothing else coming out. I know the screen went blank. So on Friday, it is all PCE. We have Chicago Business Barometer at 9:45 a.m. PCE, all that data, 8:30 a.m. At 10 a.m., we have consumer sentiment, the final. All right, so that is all tomorrow. The next Elliott Wave daily update will be on, oh no, it won't. Get this, we had a 3-day weekend coming. So tomorrow, yep, normal trading. Labor Day is on Monday, September the 2nd. The U.S. markets regular session will be closed. I believe Globex will be open. If not, Globex will open on Monday afternoon, evening. Globex will definitely open, and then we'll reopen on Tuesday. So the next daily update will be on Tuesday, September the 4th. Have a great holiday weekend. I think we've all deserved it.